Audio made possible by www.jackettomeme.com. Audio Fanfiction Productions presents Wide Awake. Fanfiction written by Angscada003. Fanfiction inspired by the Twilight saga written by Stephanie Meyer. Chapter 8. Triple Toffee, Twilight.
Edward's point of view. Esme wasted no time. When Carlisle arrived home from work, he called both Emmett and I into his office. I wasn't surprised when he asked us if we wanted to go over for Thanksgiving dinner the next day. But they were both very surprised to learn I was accepting the invitation. Luckily, they both kept their mouths shut. Right as I was about to lift my sleepy, sniffling ass off the chair across from Carlisle's desk, he made us both sit back down. I slumped back into the leather and quirked an eyebrow at him. His eyes got tense around the edges for a moment as he removed his glasses. Esme's niece just moved here from Phoenix. He started, for some reason only looking at me. You probably don't know her as well as Emmett does, Edward. But you must be very careful around her. I nearly snorted. Don't know her as well as Emmett? If you only knew. But I had to keep up the charade, so I put on an innocent look of curiosity. She's very uncomfortable around people, and she doesn't like being touched. He frowned. I almost snorted again. But I could appreciate his compassion for her situation, so I just nodded in understanding, and went back to my room to wait for the very girl that I didn't know as well as Emmett. I took more of the cold medicine, even though I probably didn't need it anymore. It kept me alert enough to just barely function. I probably had a total of 4 hours of sleep since I got sick. It was really wearing me down. I even tried going back to sleep Saturday, after I woke up from another dream. But I just couldn't do it. I could feel my brain turning to mush. Things were getting harder to remember, and I even forgot an entire trigonometry class today. I had only had that happen a few other times before. I was pushing my limits. It was fucked up and stupid, and there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. I was tired. And not just sleepy tired. Tired of being tired. Tired of constantly straddling the line between reality and unconsciousness, and never being able to fully experience either one. I would give anything to just feel normal again. To be able to walk somewhere, and have the ability to actually fucking register everything that was going on around me. I was tired. And completely fucking terrified that I'd never get the chance to know anything different. I cleaned my room tonight. It kept me busy, and hopefully would assure Bella I wasn't a complete fucking pig. Even though I probably was. She came at exactly midnight like always. I never heard her coming up the house. She would make an excellent juvenile delinquent. She certainly dressed the part in her usual black jeans and hoodie. But the clothes were always the last thing I noticed about Bella. I could see it wearing her down too. She didn't just have circles under eyes. They were bags. She was pushing it too, I could tell. Her eyelids were in a constant state of half-closed. She was straddling the line right along with me. I almost wanted to offer her some cold medicine, and then noticed she brought her own thermos tonight. Coffee, I assumed. For the third time today I had to bite back a snort. She emptied her bag like last night and settled into her spot, reaching for my iPod which I left on the sofa for her. I like to think I got her hooked on music. It was something that was essential to my existence. I noticed she didn't bring soup this time. Taking my spot in bed, I opened a large container of what appeared to be pasta. The smell of it almost knocked me over. Exquisite was an understatement. I ate with no inhibitions, just the way my girl liked me to. She'd let out the occasional lethargic chuckle, amused by my appetite. Hey, I chided with a mouthful of noodles. Don't fucking laugh at me, I'm a growing teenager. I glared, feigning offense at her amusement, which made her chuckle even louder. Then she leaned down and started unlacing her shoes to remove them. I cocked my head to the side, wondering if that bothered me, and finding no reason as to why it should. Once she had her shoes off, she placed them neatly at her feet, and brought her knees up to her chest, and hugged them.
So what's your favorite thing to eat at Thanksgiving?
She asked quietly. Thanksgiving was only tomorrow or today technically, so I could just imagine my girl putting together a whole menu. I mused, thinking over her question and twirling a lump of pasta around my fork. I hadn't really had a real Thanksgiving in so long, and I was so tired I couldn't remember all the traditional dishes. But I didn't feel like burdening my girl with either one of those disturbing facts, so I decided to stroke her ego instead. Doesn't really matter. Anything you make will be better than all that other shit. I shrugged, and popped the fork full of pasta into my mouth. That comment made her smile. A real smile that reached her eyes. Which was rare to see from Bella. Usually it'd be a half smile, or a little grin, or a tense almost smile, that she put too much effort behind. I suppose we were alike in that way too. But all too soon her smile turned into a yawn so big and deep it made her eyes tear up a bit. She snatched the coffee off the floor, and began drinking it greedily. And because yawns were weirdly infectious, I had to yawn too, which just amplified my drowsiness. I plunged us into a deep conversation, after that, desperate to engage our minds in anything else but sleep. I asked her about what happened in Trig today. We had the same curriculum, just different hours. She proceeded to reach into the depths of her own failing memory for something that she learned. Which, sadly, wasn't much. Then we talked about a bio project that was coming up next month. We joked about the stripper uniform Brandon was wearing that day. She told me about her old truck in Phoenix, and I told her about my Volvo, omitting the parts about Mallory and Stanley of course. Bella told me about all the things she was making for dinner that day, and I would ask her specifics to keep her mind occupied. When 5:30 finally rolled around, Bella was out of coffee, and my packet of cold medicine was gone. I was worried about staying awake today, because we had no school due to the holiday. I knew Bella would make it though. Cooking always kept her awake. I watched her closely, as she trudged out the glass door wearing her bag on her back, inspecting her steps for any sway that might make the climb down too dangerous, but her steps never faltered, so I let her do her thing. I still peeked out the curtains though to make sure she made it next door safely. Which she did. So I made my way to the bathroom connected to my room, and took a very cold shower. As soon as the ice-cold water hit my skin, every cell in me woke up. I tensed against the frigid temperature, but didn't flinch, or move away from it. It was something I was used to doing when it got bad like this. And I had to stay awake today. When I was satisfied I was clean, and completely alert, I stepped out of the shower door, with my teeth chattering, and praying it didn't make my cold flare back up. I figured Daddy C would want me to be presentable, so I shaved off all the thick stubble that had accumulated over the weekend. I wasn't dressing up or any stupid shit. He could kiss my ass if he was expecting that. In the end, the whole bathroom shebang only took me 2 hours. Which fucking sucked. Because I was already back inside the inviting warmth of my bedroom, glaring at my bed. I let out a frustrated growl, and snatched my sketchbook off my bed. I knew if I even touched it I'd be dead to the world. So instead I took Bella's spot on the sofa, which still smelled like her flowers and cookies. I breathed deeply, letting the scent soothe my nerves, and started sketching, willing the clock to move faster. It was possibly the hardest day I've ever experienced in all my years of staying awake. I took 2 more cold showers that afternoon, and came out with the most detailed sketch in the history of Edward Cullen artwork. I dragged my feet down the stairs, nearly tripping twice at precisely 5 o'clock. Daddy C, always the punctual food butcher, was already waiting by the door. He narrowed his eyes at my usual casual attire, and I just narrowed mine right back, daring him to say something about it. I knew he got off on the whole family bonding shit that we never did, so he backed off and said nothing. It was like having tunnel vision when I was this tired. My brain was only absorbing what was directly in front of me. I was like a machine, going through all the motions, when there just wasn't enough electricity to make it work 100%. I don't even remember Emmett coming up beside me, or us walking out the door, or us walking across the yard. It was just another block of time completely lost where my legs moved, and my eyes blinked, but nothing registered. And suddenly we were walking in the Brandon house. I furrowed my brows and shook my head, looking around disoriented.